Hello everyone, David here. There are tons of phone gamepads on the market right now. Stretchy ones, Bluetooth ones, foldy ones, tablet ones, even comes in two parts and snaps together ones. And that's great, it gives us a lot of options. But which is best? Well, I'm going to make a case for this, the ROG Tessen. This is not a sponsored video, I have no affiliation with Asus. Sadly, I did try and get sent one of these for free, more than once, but it just happens to be the one I've bought, so let me tell you why. First of all, I like that it's hardwired. Having a USB-C connection means that it draws power from the phone and it doesn't require charging separately. If you know me from previous videos, you know I hate that feeling of battery anxiety, and having yet another device to keep topped up just detracts from what I'm trying to achieve, having fun. It also supports up to 18 watts pass-through charging, so you can top up your phone if it's getting low, or if you just want to keep it charged during your gaming session. Bluetooth must introduce a little bit of lag, but I have tried wireless controllers and I couldn't say I've ever really noticed it. But having the port means that it's about as responsive as it could be. And with its 500Hz polling rate, it should theoretically be very responsive. To put that into context, a standard Xbox One controller has a polling rate of 125Hz, and the GameSir X2S 250Hz, but they can go up to 1000Hz for really high-end gear. Secondly, I really like the form factor and the way it folds up. It makes itself very small when not in use and is something you could toss in your bag. It's so small and light that you can put it in a record bag like this and then feel pretty prepared if you go on a long train journey. Especially if you pack some wireless earbuds with you, you've got a neat little gaming setup on the go. The standard stretchy telescopic controllers are fairly bulky even when not in use. The way it folds makes attaching your phone nice and simple. You unfold it halfway to plug in, then unfold the other part and stretch it around. It feels good. And then there's the controls themselves, and they really hit the spot. I mostly love the layout, and the size of the device fits neatly in the hand. The buttons, sticks and triggers feel premium, and in-game they are nice and responsive with small dead zones and a good amount of tactile feedback. I would say there's some room for improvement. I'm not a big fan of the very clicky D-pad or face buttons. If I'm playing in bed late at night, I would prefer not to disturb anyone trying to sleep near me, so softer buttons would be my choice. The thumbsticks are small, but the whole device is small, so I'll give that a pass. The paddles on the back are a bit mushy, and honestly I'm not always sure when I've pressed them. And finally, I wish they'd put the start and back buttons high up, not down at the edges. I'm used to start being here and back being here, and even reach out for them out of muscle memory sometimes. This might sound like a lot of negatives, but that's because I'm obsessive enough to nitpick, and overall it's very comfortable and satisfying to use. I unashamedly love the RGB lighting, and I think the overall design of the pad is pretty cool. It matches my Ally X quite nicely, like a little brother. In true ROG style, they give you a cheap cardboard stand in the box, which is useful in a pinch, but maybe a bit tacky in your RGB strip light display cabinet. Moving on, they also supply a few variations of grips for the sides, which is useful if you have a very thin phone, or you can just leave them all off if you keep your phone in a case. And this is crucial for me. I don't want to have to remove the case every time I go to play. And this lets me just plug in. Well, I take my magnetic wallet off, but after that. In the case of my GameSir X2, I can keep the case on, but I have to give it a good squeeze to get the USB-C connection working, which is a bit discouraging. The Tessen doesn't have the tilting USB port of the GameSir, but due to the way it folds, I don't think it's necessary. The controller is quite well supported by software, namely the Armoury Crate app on Android. You can adjust the button mappings, even swap every button around if you want. I really like that you can change some of the functions of the Asus button to capture screenshots or take a video. I quite like to document my game progress. It's useful as a YouTuber, you never know when you'll need the footage. So having that on a quick button, like it is on the Switch, is very neat. Armoury Crate also lets you change the lighting or just turn it off if you want. But don't turn it off, it's sick. So that's a quick summary of what I like. Are there any negatives? Well, the big one is probably the price. It's over £100 in the UK, maybe a bit cheaper through Scan, but they're not in stock here at the time of writing. Of course, after saying that, the controller now is in stock at Scan, and it's on sale for £90. So that would be my recommendation of where to get it if you're based in the UK. If I didn't know the price, I would expect this to go for about £60 to £70, and I'm not sure who decided their pricing structure, but there you go. You know if you can afford it or not, and if it seems a bit pricey to you, maybe wait for a sale, or try your luck secondhand on eBay. Are there some cheaper options? Sure. The other devices I've looked at recently are mostly the GameSir ones. The G8 Galileo has reviewed very well, and although it's a bit of a chunky beast, it has Hall effect sticks and triggers, and is a bit cheaper, about £75 in the UK, or even cheaper if you find it on AliExpress. It's also moddable if you want to use it on a large tablet, a very tempting option if you have an 8-inch or 10-inch screen lying around. The GameSir X2S is even cheaper and would be a good choice if you have a folding phone. They usually have the USB-C port on the right-hand side, so it would sit nicely, i.e. higher, in the X2 and X2S. Folding phones simply must not be put in so that the screen is lower than the controls, and any such act should be punishable by law. I also have the X2, not S, and it's not great. The dead zones on the sticks are too big and can't be tweaked using the GameSir app. It feels quite cheap and very clicky, although it does mostly get the job done. I consider it a runner-up in this roundup. While I was testing Bluetooth controllers, I tried the Nacon MGX and thought it was fine. The controls are nice, although again, the thumbsticks are a bit small. But it has good compatibility, and when free from the USB-C port, you can clamp your phone slightly higher in the holder if you want that Nintendo DS feel to it, which I do. I suppose one benefit of a wireless controller is you could, in theory, prop the phone up and use your controller like a normal wireless pad, but it just feels so stupid with this stretchy controller in your hands and nothing inside the grips. There are other options. If you want a full-size gamepad, you can get a clip or a magnetic mount. I really wanted to like the clip for the 8-bit Do SN30, but honestly, it makes the whole thing too top-heavy to use seriously. A standard Xbox pad with a magnetic mount is a cool idea, but getting less and less portable. You might as well just take your Ally X at this point. That more or less concludes my review of the Tessen, so let's look at a few of my favourite controller-compatible games on Android. I'm old enough to remember Streets of Rage 1 on my Mega Drive and its fantastic sequel, so it's with some trepidation that I tried this all-new entry when it came out with a more than 25-year gap after the previous entry. But I shouldn't have worried because it has recaptured the spirit of the series with ease, and the satisfying crunch of beating up thugs is still there. It's made a few respectful additions and kept some returning characters, all with a little more grisly wisp of grey hair or a more mature glint in their eye. The port is amazing on Android as well. It performs as well as its PC counterpart. And with a decent controller, the tight controls make it really fun. It also supports multiplayer over the internet, although I have found it a little tricky to actually find and stay in a game. It'll probably work better if you schedule something with a friend. If you haven't played this one yet, give it a try, and hopefully I'll see you online in Streets of Rage 5. It's easy to dismiss this as yet another gacha game, and I wouldn't fault you for doing so. It has the same filler dialogue that is almost unbearable, but you can't deny it has a lot of style. The animations are incredibly fluid, arguably over-animated, but perhaps that's just part of its style. The gameplay is fairly simple, but fun, and there is a sense of progression as you unlock and upgrade your characters. Watch out, they will try to hold Wallet-kun for ransom in order to win things on the gacha, but it's totally possible to play for free. It works natively with controllers, unlike MiHoYo's other games on Android, and battling is really responsive. Overall, recommended.
We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Despite the infamous announcement of Diablo Immortal that it would be a mobile-only game, this is rather fun. It's got the polish of a console game and works nicely with controllers, for the most part. The actual battling and navigation works great and is bound to controller inputs just like you would expect. But navigating the menus gives you a virtual mouse, which is a little laborious to move around the screen. It's free to download, so why not give it a try and make up your own mind. I think this title has gone a little underappreciated, and coming to it fresh, I was impressed.
Thank Akarat for your help, but my husband, he's still in danger.
Looks like you can target a weakness.
The controller works great with Steam Link, as you would expect really. I'm still playing through Persona 3 Reload, and it works nicely as it suits a bit of game time before I go to sleep, and isn't too sensitive to lag over the network. It's mostly a turn-based game with a few timing-sensitive areas inside dungeons. Having a compact way to play this without making any extra noise due to whirring fans is just neat. I'm also enjoying the first Descendant as a way to blast through enemies in an almost therapeutic manner. I have to admit, I don't stop to think about the plot too much. If you can connect to your PC in a low latency way, probably just over your own Wi-Fi, it also works nicely using a phone controller, although some text is small and hard to read.
Data acquisition at 100%. Connection to the drone has been severed.
While it's a bit more effort to set up, you can even play Windows games natively on your phone now. It's quite mind-boggling. Winlator will show any USB controllers just like they do in Windows. So if the game supports them, you can use them here. While this is still an option more for tech heads and obsessives, it is a little glimpse into what may come as phones continue to become more powerful and indie games are successful in the market. The main emulator apps all support controllers, so if you want to turn your phone into a high-res PS Vita, GameCube or Mega Drive, you can certainly do that. Dolphin, for instance, supports the Tessen well and provides options for remapping all the controls however you wish. Handy if you want to take a bit of retro gaming nostalgia with you everywhere. So there you go. I hope this was an interesting look at the current state of Android phone controllers. As Steam Link and game streaming continue to improve, I wonder if it'll start becoming a really valid option in the future. Could I ever get a stable enough internet connection to play games from my home PC anywhere in the world? There's also a radically different option. How about playing PC games locally? With the development of Winlator, adventurous gamers are getting even AAA games like GTA 5 to run on their mobile phones. What I would love to see is some official support from Valve. Could we ever get an official Steam app that runs on mobile and emulates games in a similar way to how Proton does on the Steam Deck? It's probably a lot more work, and catering for the range of devices would be a nightmare, but with even disclaimers, I'm sure end users would be interested. It might come down to, are Valve willing to share the profits of game sales with Google, since they will take a cut of purchases made on Android phones? Although they already are. You can buy games using the official Steam app right now, just not play them on your phone. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed for some exciting announcements, but honestly, this could all be years away. Well, if that was entertaining in any way, leave me a like and you can help me out by subscribing to my channel as well. See you next time.